This week, we revisit the age-old question that happens once a year. Does Labor Day have anything to do with Freemasonry? Then, we'll read a new article from Brother Jim Stapleton, all about those lodges that go dark and what might be happening to the members who depend on Masonic meetings to stay happy. And lastly, we're very excited to bring the first part of a multi-part serial from Stephen L. Harrison on the origins of Anti-Masonry. We read part 1 this week. The Hanoverians, Jacobites, Protestants, and Catholics, oh my. What do they all have to do with Freemasonry or the abolition of Freemasonry? Find out this and a whole lot more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to Whence Came You. This is episode number 608. I had a little snafu last week in which I think I mislabeled last week's episode, which was 607, as 608. Went back and fixed that. So if there's any confusion about files or the way things are named, I do have to apologize to you for that. But that aside, I want to go ahead and thank all of our contributors, our fellows producers, and legacy partners who have come together to assist in the production of this podcast by way of financial contributions that allow us to continue to evolve the program, add value by increasing the quality and the things that we're able to offer all of the listeners, regardless of their ability to financially contribute or not. So this podcast goes out to more people than are Freemasons in the world. I would love to continue to remind everybody about Space Novum. My lodge, the premier education lodge in the state of Illinois, is the prime mover behind the resurrection of Masonicon Chicago. This year, Masonicon Chicago is happening on September 15th and 16th. We're going to open the doors at Libertyville Masonic Temple at 5 p.m. We'll start to do some pre-registration badge pickup. We'll serve some pizza at about 5:30, and then we've got 2 awesome presenters for Friday night. Brother James Buckhorn, who is our state education officer for the Grand Lodge of Indiana. He's going to be doing a presentation called Your Mentor Was a Romantic Guy. The Empiric Strikes Back. A lack of curiosity killed the cat, and why you should learn to start questioning everything and love the authentic school. And then following that up for that evening, Stephen L. Harrison, 33rd degree fellow of the Missouri Lodge of Research and under the Grand Lodge of Missouri, will be talking about the third ruby. I'm really excited about this because we are hoping to have our local Lakes chapter, the Sharks of Demolay, come out and visit, and they'll be there all day on Saturday as well. Not serving, not doing anything like that, just there to hang out and enjoy the day with us and to assist you in getting all the information you want about Demolay. Dad Eugene Gross, who is a past state head for Demolay in Illinois and travels all around the country helping out with Demolay, actually, will be there as well. So his presentation, The Third Ruby, is all about Frank Land. It is a very awesome and inspiring presentation. And after that, we'll round up and we'll head on over on a short walk to a local brewery that has a lot of great local brews, as well as sodas and appetizers and things that we can just munch on if we so choose. So hopefully we don't stay out too late, because the next day the doors are going to open up at 8 a.m. for official registration. There will be coffee and donuts and things for you all in the kitchen area. But don't tarry, because at 8:30 we'll have some opening remarks by yours truly, and then we will move on to our first presenter, Brother Chad Kopensky, who is a past state education officer of the Grand Lodge of Ohio. He's doing a presentation called The Closed Book of John Shearer. If that sounds familiar, think about illustrations in masonry and those types of things. Now, as we move through the day, we got several breaks built in so you don't have to worry about missing anything, which includes coffee. We've got Brother Joe Martinez up next, who is the worshipful master of Manasseh Lodge and the district education officer of Virginia, and he'll be doing a program called The Application of Esotericism in the Craft, with specific examples to Illinois' ritual. Then Spencer A. Hamann, who is a district education officer for the Northeastern District of Illinois, is doing something called Deus Ex Machina, or Machina. philosophy and finding the divine in esoteric woodworking, which is sure to be amazing. After Spencer, well, we're going to take a really long break for lunch. How long? I think about an hour and a half. And there are about 36 restaurants in the local area. So you got about 90 minutes for lunch. That'll be a great time. Coming back from lunch, we've got a great presentation that's sure to make you not sleepy. Darren A. Laners, who's an area education officer and a Torek award-winning speaker for the Grand Lodge of Illinois, the magical royal art of Freemasonry. After this, we've got Robert William Marshall, 32nd degree. He's a world-renowned historian and storyteller, doing Monsters in the Making, tracing the mark of Masonry on the horror genre and why it matters. After that, James E. Fry, district education officer and Renaissance man extraordinaire, will be doing his presentation, Secrets of the Swedenborgian Rite. And then closing out the day, Right Worshipful Brother Michael Jarzabek, past Junior Grand Warden and Chairman of the Masonic Education in the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, and my boss, will be doing H.P. Lovecraft and Freemasonry, a considerably twisted version. Recommended hotels in the area, Holiday Inn Express, which is just 4 or 5 minutes down the street. You could even walk there if you really wanted to. Sonesta Simply Suites in Chicago Libertyville is another good one. We've got all of this on the website, MasoniconChicago.com. Want you to get your tickets ASAP because I just sent out an email announcing the limited availability of those tickets. So, it would behoove you to buy your ticket sooner than later. Flyers are available on your website if you want to download those and shoot them off to your lodges. That'd be awesome of you too. All we can do to spread the word about this great event. So that's it right now. But I'm releasing this on Labor Day. So we always have these articles that we read regarding a specific holiday and Freemasons' relationship to it. So many years ago, back in 2013, I originally published a piece called Labor Day and Freemasonry, Is There a Connection? It's been posted a few times over the years on Labor Day to help people know what's going on with Labor Day and if there is a connection with it. And I've read this on the show before, but it's very short, and I thought I would just put it out there for you once more. So, Labor Day and Freemasonry, Is There a Connection? A Revisit by Midnight Freemason Emeritus Robert H. Johnson. Labor Day. The very idea of the holiday invokes the excitement of barbecues, back to school for our kids, and the end of summer. Labor Day is now marked by the first Monday in September, but the first Labor Day was actually on a Tuesday. Tuesday, September 5th, 1882 to be exact. It was celebrated for the first time in New York City and was organized by the Central Labor Union. So who started Labor Day? Well, the answer can not be definitively answered. There are two men who are credited with its creation. Peter McGuire and Matthew McGuire were both labor leaders and worked for the rights of workers. Peter was a carpenter and Matthew a machinist. Many people ask whether either of these two men were members of our great fraternity, the Freemasons. Of these two men, Peter McGuire was a member of a brotherhood. It just wasn't the Freemasons. He belonged to the Brotherhood of Carpenters and was quoted as saying something which to me sounds Masonic in nature. There needs to be a day to celebrate who from rude nature have delved and carved all the grandeur we behold. However promising this sounds, neither Peter nor Matthew had any record of being involved or affiliated with the Freemasons. To find out a little bit more about Labor Day and to view some truly astonishing photographs related to Labor Day, you can visit the United States Department of Labor's website, which is all about Labor Day. So I hope you all have a happy and safe Labor Day. Now, there you go. A little bit on Labor Day, not super connected, but a day nonetheless to support this idea of celebrating the proletariat. So next up, I wanted to read a brand new piece that came out on the Midnight Freemasons also, called Summertime Blues. And this is by Midnight Freemason contributor Jim Stapleton. In some jurisdictions, Masonic lodges do not hold their regular meetings during the hot summer months. This time period is often referred to as lodges going dark. The break from business meetings is a welcomed respite for a number of brothers. The recess gives them the ability to spend precious time with family and friends. They might choose to go on vacation, go for a hike, or maybe even enjoy a drink with an umbrella on a sunny beach. However, what about those brothers that rely on a packed schedule of lodge meetings to keep busy. There could be brothers amongst us that have limited social networks outside of lodge. They might be divorced or widowed. Perhaps they don't have many family members nearby. Their lifeline is the fellowship that they share when spending time with their brothers. Without the fraternity, they might experience loneliness and isolation. People that are lonely might have a hard time expressing how they feel. They might be embarrassed to admit that they feel isolated. So, it might not be readily apparent that they are distressed. There are brothers out there that need help but won't ask for help. We can assist the brothers that are struggling to get through the summer slowdown of Masonic activity. A simple check-in phone call to see how the brothers are doing could be helpful. Even a brief visit might be a welcome gesture. If you have some people over for a barbecue, perhaps you can extend an invitation. The summer break from Masonic Lodge meetings is a well-deserved respite for many brothers. However, it is important to remember those who rely on the fellowship and structure of gatherings to counter loneliness and isolation. As Masons, it's our duty to be mindful of our brothers in need. Together we can strengthen the bond of brotherhood and make a positive impact on each other's lives. Jim Stapleton, Senior Warden of USS New Jersey Lodge No. 62, also a member of the New Jersey Lodge of Masonic Research and Education, No. 1786. Jim received the Distinguished White Apron Award from the Grand Lodge of New Jersey. He was awarded the Daniel Carter Beard Masonic Scouter Award, and he's also a member of the Society of King Solomon. Thanks for this great piece, Jim. I know that certainly I think I would be in this sort of bubble of Masons who might feel a little bit of this summertime blues when it's why I chose to be a part of lodges that continue to meet all year long. No dark months, with the exception of Space Novum, which goes dark for December for all of the holidays throughout the world, as well as October, which is our Grand Lodge Sessions month, but nothing for going dark in the summertime. And we don't even have air conditioning, you guys. It can be a hot one. If you're off in that Craftsman Plus group, let us know. Does your lodge go dark? Do you guys continue to do activities and meet even though you're dark? How do you guys handle it? Next up is a piece I've been waiting for. In fact, it was going to be a presentation at Masonicon Chicago. So we'll start a serial and we'll read these as they come out, and they are by Stephen L. Harrison, 33rd degree Fellow of Missouri Lodge of Research. He's an emeritus contributor at the Midnight Freemasons, and we've all heard the tales of anti-Masonry on all sorts of different levels, whether we're talking about the Morgan affair, the first political party, the murder and disappearance of Morgan, all of those sorts of things that come together, even the Luciferian stuff that from Leo Taxil, or all of these things. We've all heard some of it, but this is a serial where it's a multi-part series, that is, where Stephen is taking us through the real deal. So here's the real story, and I hope you guys check this out. Seeds of Dissent, The Origins of Anti-Masonry, Part 1, Hanoverians, Jacobites, Protestants, and Catholics, by Midnight Freemason Emeritus Contributor Stephen L. Harrison, 33rd degree Fellow of the Missouri Lodge of Research. The Morgan affair proved to be the great catalyst for the anti-Masonic movement in the United States. It was a tipping point which sparked years of animosity that could have brought the fraternity down, but it was not, as some think, the first shot across Masonry's bow. Even before the inception of the Grand Lodge, anti-Masonic seeds began to sprout in Europe. These had their origins mainly within organized religious bodies, which saw Freemasonry as a negative influence, if not a threat. The Church was intensely opposed to Freemasonry's support of secular ideals, raising concerns of potential subversion. It was also suspicious of the fraternity's secretive practices and oaths, which it viewed as heresy. Finally, the Church saw the growing presence of Freemasonry within influential circles as a challenge to its power. The first known criticism was launched at Freemasonry as, for lack of a better term, a labor union. In 1383, John Wycliffe, known for translating the Bible into English, said of the Masons, quote, that they conspire together that no man of their craft shall take less on a day than they fix, that none of them shall do steady work which might interfere with the earning of other men of the craft, that none of them shall do anything but cut stone, though he might profit his master 20 pounds by one day's work, laying a wall without harm to himself. End quote. That is to say, Freemasons would not work for less than their stated wage rate, nor would they do work that infringed on the skills and ability of other craftsmen to earn their wages. As the Freemasons transitioned from operative to speculative, things became more heated. The craft shook the foundations of religion, which at the time is to say it shook the Catholic Church. Freemasonry, through its charges, espoused tenets that were foreign to the teachings of the Church. Chief among these was the acceptance of all religions. The very first section of Reverend James Anderson's Constitutions of 1723 makes it clear, quote, "If a Mason rightly understands the art, he will never be a stupid atheist nor an irreligious libertine." But, though in ancient times Masons were charged in every country to be of the religion of that country or nation, whatever it was, yet 'tis now thought more expedient only to oblige them to that religion in which all men agree, leaving their particular opinions to themselves, that is, to be good men and true, or men of honor and honesty by whatever denominations or persuasions they might be distinguished, whereby Masonry becomes the center of union and the means of conciliating true friendship among persons that must have remained at a perpetual distance." End quote. It didn't help that Masons were known to discuss radical Enlightenment-based concepts in their meetings, such as the blasphemous ideas of Copernicus and Galileo, that the Earth orbited the Sun, a notion that was a complete anathema to all that was good and holy. In 1685, prior to the formation of the Grand Lodge of England, King James II, a Catholic, assumed the throne. At the time, considerable friction was brewing between Catholics and Protestants in the country. Adding to the tension, James was a cousin of Louis XIV, King of France, and many in England were becoming increasingly wary of that relationship. On top of the animosities building up over religion and his ties to France, James picked a fight with Parliament, eventually dissolving it in an attempt to form a new body that would support him unconditionally. James's 26-year-old daughter, Mary, was a Protestant, which was a mitigating factor until 1688 when he had a son, James Francis Edward Stuart, or James III, whom he announced would be raised as a Catholic. The birth of his son changed the line of succession, with many now outraged over the prospect of a Catholic dynasty in England, just as many were certain the Queen's pregnancy had been a hoax, a mystery that was never settled. Talk of revolution was in the air. 1688, a group of James's former supporters led by John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough, wrote to the Dutch Prince William of Orange, pledging their support if he would invade England. William, who also happened to be the husband of James II's daughter, Mary, did just that. After a few skirmishes, James ran off to his cousin in France, with baby James III in his arm. With that, William and Mary became rulers of England. A political movement, the Jacobites, arose supporting the restoration of James to the throne. A quarter century later, George I became king. He was a member of the House of Hanover, which had ruled in Germany beginning in the early part of the 17th century. So Hanoverians were now in charge in England and strongly opposed to the Jacobites. The Jacobites saw Freemasonry as an important means to achieving their singular goal, restoring James, or his Catholic Stuart successors, to the throne. Their lodges were primarily Catholic. Hanoverian lodges in England were mainly Protestant, but also admitted Catholics and atheists, as long as they adhered to the Hanoverian point of view. Thinking the Hanoverians were infringing on Jacobite Freemasonry, the now grown-up James Francis Edward Stuart, a good Catholic still living in France, approached Pope Clement, asking him to ban Hanoverian Freemasonry. James III thought since the Jacobean lodges were mainly Catholic, the Pope would go along with his request, without also condemning the Jacobean brand of Freemasonry. Well, the Pope didn't see it that way. The chief minister of Louis XV of France, Cardinal André Hercule de Fleury, who had been investigating Freemasonry as part of an inquisition, wanted all of Freemasonry banned. Clement, suspecting the king felt the same way and not wanting to cross the monarch, listened to de Fleury, and in 1738 issued the first papal bull condemning the fraternity in Eminenti Apostolatus Specula. Quote, "Now it has come to our ears, and common gossip has made clear that certain societies, called in the popular tongue Liberi Muriatori or Francs Masons, are spreading far and wide and daily growing in strength. and men of any religion or sect satisfied with the appearance of natural probity are joined together according to the laws, and the statutes laid down for them, by a strict and unbreakable bond which obliges them both by an oath upon the Holy Bible and by a host of grievous punishment to an inviolable silence about all that they do in secret together. Thus these aforesaid societies, or conventicles, have caused in the minds of the faithful the greatest suspicion, and all prudent and upright men have passed the same judgment on them as being depraved and perverted. For if they were not doing evil, they would not have so great a hatred of the light. We therefore do hereby determine, and have decreed, that these same societies of Liberi Muriati or Francs Masons are to be condemned and prohibited, and by our present constitution, valid forever, we do condemn and prohibit them. Moreover, we desire and command that both bishops and prelates, and other local ordinaries, as well as inquisitors for heresy, shall investigate and proceed against transgressors, and they are to pursue and punish them with condign penalties as being most suspect of heresy." End quote. The Pope also notes in his encyclical, the first of many having since been issued against Freemasons, that quote-unquote several countries had already outlawed and eliminated Freemasonry. In a way, one could argue it was not the Catholic Church that struck this seminal blow to Freemasonry, rather it was differences between two factions of the craft that got them condemned. At any rate, officially formed as the Grand Lodge in 1717, just 2 decades later the Catholic Church, along with several countries, had banned the fraternity, leaving Anti-Masonry as a stowaway on board as the craft sailed for the New World. Brother Stephen L. Harrison. What an awesome look at this. You know, every time I've read something about this, there's all this confusion. People talk about all of these different factions and groups and years and people, and the main story, the main idea, the story arc that is here for us to be engaged with is lost. And I think Stephen has done a fantastic job of taking us through that story, not unlike a movie or a comic book would, in that he gives us what we need to know, and he takes us through the story, and I love it. We'll look forward to future installments of this. If you wanted to read this for your lodge, you can do so. I'll put a link in the show notes as always, and in this piece also is a full list of citations for you to fact-check anything that Brother Stephen L. Harrison is putting within his article. That's it for this week. I want to thank you all for joining me one more time. I want to thank our supporters of the show, which are our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners. Whether you do it on Patreon or through PayPal, or you even do just a one-time gift, all of that is very awesome, and we thank you so much because, again, we've been doing this since 2011, and without you, it can't happen and continue to be brought to you in such a quality way, week after week, month after month, year after year. And of course, we do it in the highest possible bit rate for audio that you can do sensibly, 320 kbps every single episode. So if you're an audiophile or anything like that, and you hear that and you're like, oh wow, I knew that was cool about this show. But if you didn't know, basically, it means we export at higher quality than even a compact disc. You guys remember those before MP3s? Or whatever Apple calls their files these days. But anyway, thank you guys all so much. Please visit WCY Podcast and click on Support the Show if you're interested in learning more. You can also use our shop. You can check out the bookstore and visit Skull and Crown Limited for all kinds of great, cool everyday carry, leather goods, and little curiosities that we've put together for purchase there. Everything goes back to support this program and Masonic education. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you all next week. Until then, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
That's it. Cash girl.